Hi, my name is Joanna Whitney. I am an intuitive artist, a student of natural law, and an energy practitioner. And we're studying the Kabbalion by the three initiates right now. And I'm going to do a little separate series intermittently about personality disorders in the freedom movement and how to deal with them. I was going to call it You Can Tell a Narcissist, but You Can't Tell Him Much. Because a narcissist, I'm going to describe that, what I'm referring to. A narcissist is someone who has no core inside themselves. They rely 100% on being the center of attention, being the most knowledgeable on a topic. Everything's all about them in the moment, what their immediate need is. And the reason I need to bring this up right now is because that's why I'm doing any of this work in the first place, really, is because, first of all, we as the collective of humanity are in a war against primary psychopaths who have no connection to their heart and are all self-centered in the extreme. That's what we're against. But in amongst the collective, we have many secondary psychopaths in our midst. And I would assert that that is the biggest problem. One of the biggest problems that we have is that when we form groups to try to address creating a parallel economy or trying to unite in the war that we're in, we encounter these narcissistic personalities. I'm using the word narcissist. I'm not a therapist, okay? I don't use the Merck manual. Narcissus, the tale of Narcissus, is of a boy, I believe in Greece, who was so obsessed with himself that he was staring at his reflection in the clear lake and fell in and died. And we have a narcissus flower that represents that story. And a lot has been discussed of late on YouTube and around about narcissists. But I'm using this term broadly to describe any personality disorder, including alcoholism, drug addiction, any kind of other addiction, money, shopping, gambling, sport, extreme sports, adrenaline, basically being addicted to the passions of the self rather than being able to put a higher power above all to unify the disparaged parts. It could also be referred to, I guess, as a dissociative disorder where trauma, the person has experienced so much trauma that they've broken off into separate pieces and they have their separate selves that do separate things and cause chaos. So what I've noticed is, like, we have the freedom movement, we have groups, and then we have like these personality disorders in the groups. And the personality disorders basically use the groups to get attention, to get the attention they need so they can feel validated as human beings or whatever. And they don't care if they destroy the groups. And they're not planted. This is part of our collective shadow that we have to deal with. We can't kick them out. We can't kill them off. We just have to learn how to deal with them. And how is it that we learn to deal with them? Exactly. Because they're like big children in pain in adult bodies. And that is why I originally read the Formal Consensus book, because the Formal Consensus book is geared towards dealing with this problem. Because what will happen is if a group decides to use formal consensus, it will weed out the extreme personality disorders, because they won't have the patience to use that format, because they won't get enough attention and they'll just leave on their own. That's one way to handle it. The other thing is that those of them who are ready and willing to change, because a secondary psychopath can recover, can use that opportunity to address their issues and can change. And, you know, for those of us who claim to be able to see them over there, we still have three fingers pointing back at us. I personally have recovered from being a secondary psychopath. At one time, I was extremely self-centered. Having grown up in a violent, dysfunctional family, which I'm not going to get into the details of much, I had naturally been made into a secondary psychopath. And that's what the dark occult Luciferians want. Okay. They want all of us to have personality disorders so that we can't get along, so that we're divided, so that we can be conquered easily. That's what they want. So my question is when is enough going to be enough for everybody? When is it going to be enough? When are we going to be willing to roll up our sleeves and deal with this? You know, use one of these techniques, one of the many techniques that have been developed, you know, nonviolent communication. I'm not a big fan of that, honestly. Just the term itself, nonviolent. I'm not a big fan. I like formal consensus, although it is very strenuous. It is very strenuous. And that's why I quit talking about it. When I got done with the book, I realized that people hadn't even, they didn't even understand natural law. People didn't even know how to rule their inner monarchy. So that's why I started the Kabbalion. Figured, well, it's time to start to look at this, because that's why I'm doing these videos. Like, you know, I am very frustrated because I don't have a group of people who are mature enough or willing enough to sit in person and do a formal consensus together to try to create a group that would create a parallel system to the one we're in. I literally don't have anybody here where I live. I thought I did, but it proved itself to be untrue. I have a kitten down here who's like playing with all the wires, so I might have to take a moment to deal with him. Yeah, that's what he, you know, they remind me of them, a kitten, a 5-month-old kitten who's like a teenager who's just trying to, you know, get my goat. That's a lot of what how these people act, because they're very sick and they want attention and they can't okay, kitten time. All right, they can't control themselves. They just want attention. Okay, this is the kitten right here. So I adopted this kitten. He was born under my shed, and his mom abandoned him because he had a spleen imbalance. Him and all his brothers and sisters all had a lot of phlegm in their eyes, and so I adopted him, and he's 5 months old now, and so he's definitely what you could call a narcissist, because he's a teenager and he wants attention all the time. And then if I'm not giving him attention, what he'll do is he'll climb over the fence of the neighbor's yard and, you know, put himself in danger. And then I'll have to go over there and try to lure him back. And it's a long story, but it just reminds me of what we're dealing with here. You know, there's no perfect situation. But look what I have to do with this kitten is I have to take care of him. I have to reassure him that I'm here and that I'm paying attention and that I love him, you know, and that's what we have to do with our extreme personality disorder people. You know, I mean, I would like to say to them that they need to recover. They need to do the spiritual work that they need to do, but they may think they have done it, you know, or they're so extreme. They may be so extreme that they can't do it. And yet I don't really believe that we can kick them out of society. That's what, like, we have to look at the law of correspondence, for example, right? As above, so below. We are a mirror image of the dark occult Luciferians. They are just like this, only they're primary psychopaths. They can't recover from it. But that's what we're dealing with, okay? And then the law of polarity, like we think we're so much better than the shadow, but we have the shadow within us. All of us can act just like what we see, quote unquote, them acting like. So we have to learn as a group, as a collective, to deal with them. This is what we've been being pushed towards for our whole existence on Earth that seems to be coming to like an end. You know, we used to get along better because we could live further apart, but now we're being crammed together into cities by the dark occult. And now he wants to go. Well, he's not going to go. I don't think I'm going to let him go. I think he's going to stay in my arms through this video, because otherwise he's going to do what any self-centered little teenage boys would want to do, which is he's going to try to create havoc to get my attention away from the camera and onto him. But the point is, something like formal consensus, where everyone in the group agrees to live by principles like that and follow rules like that strictly, although it does require commitment, dedication, patience, all spiritual virtues that you might have to pray for. Basically, what we're saying is that we are all equal under natural law. So we're going to use these principles to try to get along with each other. And that brought up something else. Okay, dependence upon a higher power. Okay, that's really also a bottom line thing. Because under natural law, we're all equal. We would have to get our help from the unseen forces. Prayer, meditation. And then we would have to make decisions slowly, because there's no quick decisions unless you're relying on a personality. I think right now in a lot of the groups, like, what we want is we want some savior person, some human being to come in and who's not a narcissist and tell us what to do. But that's not how it's going to go, because that we're delegating our authority to a human, and that's, again, a violation of natural law. So we're at the effect of our cause. It's not like I'm out of the chapter here. We have brought this on ourselves by continuing to attempt to delegate authority to personalities, and there really is no personality that's going to save us. We have to save ourselves by learning how to be in a state of neutrality ourselves, and then learning how to come from that place together as a group. And there's, you know, these amazing mechanisms set up by other people who, like, what's the guy's name who wrote Formal Consensus? Butler, C.T. Butler. I mean, he did that originally for Food Not Bombs, because people were gathering food from supermarkets that was just outdated and then passing it out to the community or cooking it in People's Park in Berkeley for the homeless. And everybody had to figure out how to get along. So he wrote that that document on formal consensus for that purpose, a higher purpose, to help others. So we have everything we need here already done. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just have to put it into action and recognize that, like, I could easily be triggered by a self-centered person. I already have, I mean, I'm not fully recovered from growing up in a violent alcoholic family. You know, when I'm with someone who's a good talker, I defer to them naturally. I kind of lose touch with my truth. So that's why I personally do need something like formal consensus, which gives everyone a voice. But in the meantime, while I don't have like a group like that, I don't have a group of people that's willing to do that right now, I have to continue to work on modulating my energy using something like yoga or qigong, so that I don't react and disassociate. Okay. All right. So I just wanted to make this little video about that, because I'm going to address this now and again. I think as long as we're waiting for everybody to be perfect and waiting to what would be the word, exercise the personality disorders into like another universe, we're going to just be basically waiting for the dark occult Luciferians to take us over. We basically have to work with what we have. We can't get rid of people. It's not within our jurisdiction to be able to decide who is part of the freedom movement. But we who see ourselves as not having personality disorders have to investigate our own triggers and take ourselves on. That's how I see it. Otherwise, basically what we're doing is we're going to basically do ourselves what we see them doing. We're basically sacrificing our freedom and the freedom of our children for our own comfort. That's what we're doing. So until next time, you can, the idea was you can spot, what was it I said? You can, oh, you can tell a narcissist, but you can't tell him much. I can tell this kitten, but I can't tell him much.